It was a long day at court, my cough.
Make sure you give your boy a shout out too.
Look at the state of this. Look at Look. And look who we're with. Say hello, young Bob.
Hello, how you doing? Doing well?
Got the privilege to have dinner with young Bob, who I've watched for a while. Just come from nowhere and absolutely admired his courage. What an incredible young man. So we're getting dinner after court, and our friend here who's got motion sickness.
Yeah, it's been terrible. Never had it before.
That's all we've heard. That's all I've heard.
Oh, shut up.
Oh, I feel well. I don't got any medication. He's Googling what medication he needs for feeling motion sickness and that. Don has flown all the way over from the United States of America again, so I'm very grateful, Don, for the support.
Absolutely, my brother.
Looking good as always, Don.
Thank you. Same to you. Good.
He's a handsome man, isn't he? He's not. It's like handsome and so
you know what? You just look in the mirror and come up with it.
Court today. What happened? We sat and we watched police officer after police officer accept and admit on the dock and on oath that their actions were unlawful. So let's see what happens tomorrow. I don't see where they've got anywhere to go, but it is me. Yeah, I'm confident after today. I wasn't confident before this that I needed a prison bag. I'm confident I do not need a prison bag, even if the judge finds a way of somehow justifying their actions. They can't send me to jail when you heard the evidence today, which played out, thankfully. So anyway, yeah, been an entertaining day, a tired day. I just want to get over and done with tomorrow, get the verdict, hopefully get the win, and crack on.
As the courtroom emptied and dusk settled over Westminster, Tommy Robinson appeared both weary and resolute. Speaking after another long day in court, the activist and citizen journalist described a dramatic turning point in his case, one that, in his words, exposed the very system that tried to silence him. We sat and we watched police officer after police officer accept and admit on the dock and on oath that their actions were unlawful, Robinson said, reflecting on the day's proceeding. His tone carried a mixture of exhaustion and vindication, the voice of someone who has spent years fighting not just legal battles, but a narrative war against the institutions that brand him a threat. For Robinson, today's testimony represented more than courtroom theatrics. It was an unmasking. The officer's admissions, he suggested, stripped away the official pretense surrounding his detention and revealed a misuse of power that had long been denied. Even if the judge finds a way of somehow justifying their actions, he remarked, they can't send me to jail when you've heard the evidence today. His confidence, he admitted, had not always been so firm. I wasn't confident before this, he confessed. I thought I needed a prison bag, but after what came out today, I'm confident I don't. It was a moment of rare optimism from a figure more accustomed to defiance than relief. Robinson's legal struggle has become a lightning rod for debates over policing, political bias, and the limits of free speech in the UK. Supporters view him as a test case for the treatment of dissenters under Britain's expanding security state. Critics, meanwhile, argue that his notoriety is self-inflicted, the product of provocation dressed as journalism. Yet, as the case nears its conclusion, Robinson's comments reveal a man who believes the truth is finally breaking through. It's been an entertaining day, a tired day, he said, half smiling as he prepared for what could be the final verdict. I just want to get it over and done with tomorrow, get the win, and crack on.
Well, it was the best boss I've ever had, and as you rightly say, she was very cautious quite a lot of the time, and you needed to work very hard to present a really good case, make sure that it all worked, and you needed to know what reactions were going to be to it before she would adopt it. And she would often take your idea and test it out on other people coming to see her about completely different subjects. They didn't know why she'd asked these questions, but we knew because she said, well, yes, John, I really trust you, but I'm going to make sure this thing hangs together. And you're exactly right about pacing it. I mean, she encouraged me to develop a lot of ideas on how you get private capital and competition into a huge nationalised estate, which was losing us a fortune and costing taxpayers huge bills. And then she wasn't ready to undertake the remedies in the first Parliament, so she didn't do very much. And it was only at the beginning of the second Parliament she said to me, "I'm ready now. Would you now
So
help
you were
me do
instrumental
this?"
in the privatisation process, advising her in the background.
Yeah.
And very little happens until 1983, and then the big ones come after
That's
that.
when she was ready. And I think she made good judgment because she knew that this was bitterly contested. And the unions, as often, were actually quite split on it, but they were very good at articulating hostility. But then when we said, you're going to get free shares and you're going to be able to have pay rises because you're going to generate more cash and do things that private sector businesses can do, and you're going to have a load of extra capital. And then quite a lot of union members actually saw this made a lot of sense.
And it's the bringing together of a clear ideology. She knew where she wanted to end up, but she wasn't too worried about how she got there. Is that fair?
Well,
Or does she not-
usually, but she was in power or in office as leader of the opposition as well for a long time, and her thinking evolved. Of course it did. She was a clever woman who wanted to listen to other people who knew things she didn't know. She was very good at listening to advice. She would argue very strongly with you because she wasn't going to put up with anything that wasn't thought through or sloppy. So quite a few people came in and got dispatched quite quickly. But if you were like me and you only took things to her that you had really researched and you knew your stuff, you had a good argument, and then she would often go along with it. But remember, this is a lady who in the early 70s thought the European Economic Community was a great thing and was out there campaigning for it. And by the end of the 80s, she realised that it was transforming from the common market she wanted to a proto-superstate, and she switched her views because the facts had changed.
And she had a very small team around her. You were one of a small number. There wasn't a great...
No, in the middle period when I was in Downing Street, there were 3 senior staff members. We were all full-time civil servants. I was head of policy dealing with what the government was doing. And then the private secretary head did all the organisation of diary and interaction with departments and the civil service. And then Bernard Ingham was the spokesman. And he ran the communications and media side. So it was just 3 of us. So why it worked so well, partly because she was such a great boss, but also partly because there were only 3 of us. So we had a lot of exposure to her, and we knew exactly what she wanted, so we could give very clear instructions around Whitehall.
And she had a very good relationship with her immediate staff, but a very testy relationship with some of her cabinet ministers. What made that difference? Was it that they weren't bright enough to keep up with her, or was it that actually they didn't want to do what she was proposing?
Well, I tried to help her on that, so I tried to get her to have more one-to-one private meetings with the key reports and to use those meetings by briefing both sides so that you could iron out any complications, get them working together. But I think it was that she was the first woman Prime Minister. They were a different generation to us, obviously, and they were used to women not being in those senior leadership positions. They didn't know really how to relate to her. So in one sense, they were too courteous. And she wanted a good argument. She wanted the men to stand up to her. In another sense, they could be a bit misogynist or dismissive. Oh, well, she's a woman and we're just going to do what we want to do. So she had to get control and get them to take her seriously. And so they could be frustrating.
Stephen, Labour